This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, friends, we had a very meaningful day. Just one last thought. We're standing here at not the parking lot, the car park here in England. And we think the day is over, and we encounter this sign that says this is the location of the ancient Jewish cemetery of York. Some of the remains were reinterred the 8th of July 1984, the 8th day of Tammuz, in the presence of Chief Rabbi Sir Emanuel Jacobowitz and representatives of the Jewish community. The reinterment site was kindly provided by J. Sainsbury PLC, to whom the Jewish community is most grateful. So, when these bones were discovered, there was a lot of discussion. In fact, do these bones belong to the ancient Jewish community, or are these just bones of residents of the city of York? And Rav Sholi Strum showed me a tshuva from Rav Falk. We have here from Rav Elio Falk in his own handwriting that he brought many proofs that in fact these were the bones of early Rishonim of York, people who lived in York over 1,000 years ago. And some of his proofs were they found the remains of a Beis Tahara, where obviously only Yidden performed Tahara by the Kvura. They were buried in an Aron. Their hands were not folded over their chest like the Noitzrim are buried. Instead, their hands were on the side. Rav Sholi showed me pictures of the skeletons. The skeletons had their hands on the side. Also, the children were buried on the outskirts of the cemetery, which is Minhag Yisrael. Apparently, this was from a time of a plague where many children died. The Noitzrim bury with the Matseva standing in the west so that the sun shines on it. This was not the case over here. One of the clearest proofs is that they found pottery on their eyes and their mouth, which was Minhag Yisrael here in England. And there was no church in the vicinity of this cemetery, which is usually the Christian practice. So for all these reasons, the government accepted
they also found this. This is the Shtar Mechira of the land.
Okay, they found in the Minster, the York Minster, the document of sale that this area was purchased by the Jewish community for a cemetery. So for all these reasons, they're pretty sure that this was a Jewish cemetery. There is a very frightening legend, perhaps even more than a legend, that the very night that they moved these bones, when they moved it to Prestwich, Manchester, that very night there was an unusual light show. There was a tremendous lightning in the summer sky, and lightning struck the Minster, the York Minster, and nearly burnt down the entire cathedral. A section of it was completely burned down. Now you have to know that after the mob surrounded the castle that we were just at, so the first place they ran was to the York Minster, because the Jewish people were the moneylenders, and they ran to York Minster to burn down all the documents of loan so that they shouldn't have any record that they owed money. So, what goes around comes around. This was seen and taken as an act of God, of retribution. Even in the secular press, the nations of the world recognized somehow this was an act of revenge. Of course, we were not willing to accept that as payback, but at least there was some degree of mishpat that this cathedral that stood, this massive cathedral, lightning struck it. It took more than 120 firemen to put out the fire, and the wood, the timber, and the roof burnt, and it actually damaged the stone. The massive stone was burnt down. So that's what happened on the very night that these bones were moved. So, we're just reporting the facts as they are. Another evidence was that this street, as we saw, there was a little circle with the symbol Jewbury. Jewbury means Jews are buried here, also indicated that this was the area of a Jewish cemetery. So we hope by coming back to this area and reconnecting to those great Jews who lived almost 1,000 years ago, it will bring their memory back to us, and we could connect with their great legacy of Kiddush Hashem. And the Eish Kodesh writes that at the Akedas Yitzchak, when Yitzchak was willing to give up his life al Kiddush Hashem, the desire of Yitzchak to give up his life al Kiddush Hashem combined with the act of Kiddush Hashem throughout the generations, and it fused together that whenever Yidden give up their life al Kiddush Hashem, it sort of connects with the Maiso HaKeda. So here we are, it's not Har HaMoriah, but the act of Har HaMoriah certainly fuses together with the act of these Kedoshim, and Tehi Zichron Baruch. Thank you so much, everyone. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.